Welcome to Behind the Scenes at Gentle Carousel Miniature Therapy Horses, where tiny horses bring comfort, hope, and healing to children, veterans, first responders, and communities in need. For almost 30 years, this award-winning nonprofit charity has shared the healing power of miniature therapy horses inside children's and veterans hospitals, hospice programs, assisted living programs, schools, and beyond. Now they are sharing their stories every week on the Equus Radio Network.
Hello and welcome back to Behind the Scenes at Gentle Carousel Miniature Therapy Horses. My name is George Garcia Bengochea, and I am the founder of Gentle Carousel Miniature Therapy Horses and the host for today's program. I'm here along with the co-founder of Gentle Carousel and co-host for today, and that's Debbie.
Hello, everyone.
We're so excited you've come back to join us and listen to our podcast. Last week we talked about the Gentle Carousel Reading with Horses. We had a long discussion, and one of the books that we did bring up was entitled Mercury and Sirius, and it talks about the relationship with a little foal, and that is Mercury, and his bonded relationship with Sirius, a Maremma sheepdog. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the Maremma sheepdogs and what they do here on the farm.
They are an important part of Gentle Carousel. I know people are listening to the podcast going, isn't this about therapy horses? But actually, the guardian dogs, the livestock guardian dogs that take care of our horses are a huge part of our farm and a huge part of Gentle Carousel, because we really could not do what we do without them. They are amazing. They protect the horses. They're not guard dogs, they're guardian dogs. So they're bonded, just like with Mercury and Sirius, they're bonded with the horses. They love them. They move with the herd. That is who they want to be with. And it's the Maremma sheepdogs are just a special breed of dog. They're a 2,000-year-old breed from Italy. They are very independent. They used to watch the flocks up in the mountains in Italy. And here they are also really, really independent. And their sole goal in life is to be with the horses and to move with the horses and take care of them. They absolutely adore the horses. When we go on a trip and come back that day with a horse, they are excited to see that the horses come back. They want to be with them. And they really make a difference that our horses are able to live a natural life. If it wasn't for the dogs, they could not run in their herd. They could not live the lives that they live because it just wouldn't be safe for them to be out there.
Yeah, it's a unique breed of dogs, and we're excited to share a little bit about them and what they're able to do with our program and allowing us to do the work that we do, and for the horses to live natural lives right here on the farm. They can move around. There are predators that are around the farm, and maybe we could talk a little bit about how we were introducing the Maremmas to the farm.
Well, should we share about what happened?
Yeah, I think we should. I think people ought to know. They do have an important job. It's not just that we enjoy them, which we do very much, but they do have an important job. And like I mentioned, we can't do the work we do without the Maremma sheepdogs.
Well, quite a few years ago, and this is just really hard to even talk about. For many, many years, our miniature horses were on the farm, wood fences with no climb wire, cameras, everything that we thought we were doing to protect them and keep them safe. And 3 large dogs dug under the fence that we thought had, was securing the safety of the horses and attacked our therapy horses. And they attacked, the challenge is our horses are very used to being around dogs in people's homes. If we do, a home hospice visit, they trust us that we're going to take care of them. So they don't have the same mindset, when dogs apparently approach them. But 2 of our horses, Catherine and Mozart, were attacked by these large dogs, and Mozart was killed. And this was during the daytime. We were home. It happened so fast. And Catherine lived for 10 days, and she had 10 surgeries. And it was just horrific. And the police were called, animal control was called. The dogs belonged to a neighbor who had just moved in to a farm. And when they when the police arrived there, they were trying to wash the blood off of their dogs to protect and cover what the dogs had done. And because there was a police report, and because our horses are really well known, it wound up being a national news story. And that made it in some ways much harder. I mean, we were visiting Catherine at the vet and came home, and there were news trucks lined up the road wanting stories. And some of the things that were posted were accurate, and a lot of them weren't accurate because they never actually talked to us personally before they put things out. But we, at that point, what do you do?
Yeah, we were distraught. It was just such an awful incident. We weren't really sure what to do and how to go forward. We wanted the horses to feel safe. I mean, they trust us. They trust us to have a natural life and to be healthy and safe. And we were kind of looking at our different options. We
buried barbed wire under the entire perimeter.
Yeah, we had a solid fencing, and there's just always that threat. I mean, here in this area, there are panthers that roam about. There are coyote that we can hear them in the especially at night, and they're packs of wild dogs or dogs that they're not
properly supervised by the people who should be taking care of them.
It's hard to say, but people should be responsible for containing their animals. Mm-hmm. So we were trying to figure out what to do, and like you said, some of these articles came out really across the country, but here in the area as well. And then we received a phone call from a gentleman here in the area, and he came up with a solution.
Yeah, we had a few people, we were trying to look and see what could we do. I mean, we buried barbed wire around the perimeter of the property to make sure a dog couldn't dig under ever again. We had the no-climb wire still, the fencing, but with coyotes, with some of the different animals. I mean, coyotes can jump 7 or 8 feet.
And they travel in packs, too.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And there's no containing them in that way. But we had never had a problem at that point with coyotes. They've developed more through the years across from us at a state park. At the time, and for, all the years beforehand, coyotes had never been an issue for us. And at the time that this incident with the dogs happened, coyotes were not an issue for us. But some different friends had mentioned livestock guardian dogs to protect the horses, and people mentioned other kinds of animals too, but the livestock guardian dogs. And there was a gentleman who was actually lived pretty near here who had Maremma sheepdog puppies. And so
and he had goats on his property.
He had goats and chickens and all of that. And the Maremma sheepdogs were protecting everything, even from the sky. They were doing some amazing things. He had 2 litters of puppies, so we went over to see them. And at that point, we were just thinking about one livestock guardian dog. And since then, for a lot of reasons that we can talk about, we have more for the safety of the dogs. But he was a wonderful man, and he was a veteran. And what we didn't know at the time is he'd already done all kinds of research on us and the work that we've been doing for years with veterans. And he had been a prisoner of war. And his whole farm was something, when he was a prisoner, he had built the farm in his mind. And right down to exactly what he was going to do on the farm. And that was part of what helped get him through that really terrible time in his life. So, he researched us, and he loved what we were doing, and he had 2 litters, and we were looking at the puppies, and we were thinking we could afford 1 puppy at the time. And he said, just come walk with me. And we were both there, and he had me go walk with him, and he said, I want to give you the pick puppy of each of the 2 litters that I have, and I want you to take them home. And one of them wasn't old enough to even go home yet, but that's what he wanted to do. And we're always grateful that he did that. And that's how our first two livestock guardian dogs, our first two guardian angels, Vigil and Gardenia, came to be part of things on the farm. And the one thing that I want to make sure and say at this point, because I know people are listening, people have contacted us about getting the breed of dog that we use. And I will say that this is what works for us and for our horses. It may not be the fit for everyone. And even though these are livestock guardian dogs and they have, just hundreds of years of instinct to bond with whatever animal they learn to be around, they're still puppies. And they take a lot of supervision. It takes them about 2 years to mature. And, it's a little easier now with our current guardian dogs, who, if we bring in, and we have recently bring in younger dogs, they can learn from the older dogs. But when we started as puppies, there was a lot of supervision to make sure that the horses were safe, that everything was, going the way that it needed to, because they were puppies. And puppies are puppies, even with their instinct. But we spent a lot of time making sure that they were spending time with the horses safely, that they were becoming attached to the horses, that they liked being around the horses. And so it's a project to do it.
This gentleman really helped us, and he educated us on the breed. We did a few visits while the puppies were getting old enough to leave the farm, and we learned a lot. We learned a lot about Maremas, where they come from, what's their instinct, and what is their job. So he helped us in that transition, and it's been an amazing journey with these guardian angels. They really are special, and they're very sweet dogs on the farm. We enjoy their interaction, but they are always on alert. They're watching, they're looking for a threat, something that might be a problematic. So one thing they do on the farm is they're sort of sentinels. They bark, they call each other, and their barks mean different things. It's pretty fascinating. Not that we've learned Maremma speak, but
kinda.
Well, yeah, we've kind of learned, but different barks mean different things, and they have about 3, 4, maybe 5 different barks that call attention to a different area. Sometimes they're just speaking out, sometimes they're calling over, other times it's definitely an alert. And when that happens, all the dogs, and usually what happens is they spread out throughout the farm, and they're in different locations. They sometimes they lay down, or they just walk through the pastures, they hang out in the barn. But when there is an alert, a sentinel call, they all come to where that spot is and to see what's going on, and they stand next to each other and they assess the situation.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to see, because they do walk the perimeter and they'll sound an alarm just saying, don't come here. But when there is that call and you see them running from everywhere, and they'll stand shoulder to shoulder, and there's a field that's next to us, and over the past few years especially, the predator load of coyotes has been very, very intense.
And they seem to get bigger too.
They are huge. You see them, they're fearless. They're out in the daylight. Our neighboring farm had one in their driveway. Our neighbor on the other side of us, they've lost all of their barn cats, their chickens, everything. And the people behind us came home, the farm behind us, and there was a coyote on their steps. And talking with the wildlife people, they were just saying that they are so smart and so adaptable, and they even learn people's schedules. If there's certain times that people go to work every day, they'll wait and go right into the barns and things like that. So, but they are big. One ran in front of my car driving up the road to the farm. And, you kind of think of coyotes as those thin, kind of scraggly looking, That's not what it looked like at all. It was big, it was muscular, it was really very healthy looking and very large. And the wildlife people were saying, yeah, they can jump 7 feet. I mean, a regular fence on a farm cannot keep a coyote out. And so I think having all of our neighbors having issues with coyotes, even up the road from us, someone lost a miniature horse this year to coyotes. And but for us, ever since we got the livestock guardian dogs, our horses are safe. And we make sure too that we have a group of livestock guardian dogs. I think it's personally really unfair to expect one dog.
Yeah, we couldn't have had just one dog, and they do need a pack. They need
backup. Yeah,
they do need backup, and that way they have friendships as well with each other. They play with each other. They play with the horses, and ever since we have introduced the dogs to the farm, we haven't seen a coyote on the property. Now, we've seen them off in the distance, like you'd mentioned, on our neighbors' properties, but they will not come close to our fence line. So they keep everything away. And again, it comes back to that barking, those calls. I think it's a real deterrent to keep predators away, whether it's the coyote, it's panthers, wild or stray dogs, anything like that. They just would rather move on and find another location. So it has been pretty amazing, and maybe we can talk a little bit about their job, where they come from, and kind of their original instinct.
Well, yeah, they are amazing with the horses, and you mentioned play with the horses. They don't wrestle with the horses. No. But when the horses move and the herd runs, there is always a group of them that will move with that herd. And if the horses are laying down, we've got pictures of them laying with the horses and being with them. And but the original breed, like I'd said before, was from Italy. They're a 2,000-year-old breed. There's a lot of instinct, and they are not a breed. Some people see them and go, oh, they're so beautiful, and we would love them as a pet just to lay around in the house. And, there are exceptions to every rule, but in general, this is a breed of dog that needs a job to be happy. They want to be active. They are living their best life. And we have talked to, veterinarians and people saying this is their best life. They have their freedom. They have their job. They are taken care of and well fed, and they know what their property line is, the fencing, for the property line. They never leave. We have double gates in the driveway to make sure that nobody could ever slip through by accident. We're really, really careful with them, but they have a really happy life. They enjoy themselves when it's hot outside like it is right now. The horses rest in the middle of the day, and the dogs rest in the middle of the day with them. I can hear them in the distance. You might hear them in the distance.
They're here on the farm.
But what you were saying is so true, that coyotes, there have been some panthers, not often, and because Florida panthers are endangered, they have tracking devices so that people know when they're in the area. But there was a farm down the road from us that the panther chased a horse, a full-size horse, and the horse broke the fence and was out in the road with the panther. So we've not had incidences. Our dogs have been very, very safe. We want to make sure that they have the numbers that they need so that they always have backup and feel safe, and that a pack of coyotes moving through, like you were saying, go, hey, you know what? This is not going to be worth the situation when we can go somewhere easier. And this breed of dog, they've been amazing, doing lots of things all over the world. Normally, they had been used, and even when people were talking with us originally, for like sheep or goats and things like that. But there were also some situations where these Maremma sheepdogs, as a breed, have started helping endangered species. Like there's a movie, which, it's fiction but not fiction, about a Maremma sheepdog named Oddball in Australia. And there were these little tiny penguins.
Fairy penguins.
Yeah, little penguins in Victoria, Australia. And they they were highly endangered. And the foxes, every time they would come to this island to have their eggs and things, they were decimating the penguins, and they were down to just 10. And there was a farmer there who used Maremma sheepdogs for his poultry and came up with the idea of what if they could get a Maremma sheepdog to bond with the penguins. And it turns out that was Oddball, and they were able to do that. And Oddball was there for a short period of time, and then other Maremmas came in, and now they have this thing. It's the Victorian Penguin Protection Project, and they have brought these penguins back from extinction. And the dogs are bonded with the penguins and protect them when they're on the island, every year when the penguins come in. And it's been amazing. And they're also using them, I was reading, somewhere in Africa, where they were trying to protect endangered cheetahs. And it was a little bit different. They had the Maremma sheepdogs bonded with the cattle. So they would keep the cheetahs away from the cattle, and therefore the people with the cattle left the cheetahs alone because their cattle were protected. So, even in that kind of situation, and they're trying with some other animals too, some kind of endangered marsupial they're trying. So they're doing a lot of different things with these dogs. They're really, really special, but they do take a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen a picture of the Maremmas, we've had them weighed. I think they're about 80
to the females to 100 pounds.
Yeah, up to 100 pounds for the males. They tend to be a little bit bigger. They're predominantly white. They've got white coats. They're so funny because they do have this sort of thicker coat, and they do, they roll around in the mud and they play on the farm, but their coat is such that it repels all the water. It repels the dirt and mud, and so they may go to bed. You see them in the afternoon. They're all kind of muddy and covered with dirt and dust, and then the next day they're
white again.
They're white as snow.
Yeah.
Their coats are just very special. It's like a repellent. So yeah, they're beautiful, beautiful dogs. And they do have a very sweet disposition, at least to us, if you don't belong on the farm.
But they can turn like that.
And that is a quality that I think people have to recognize. It's not like your regular, home dog, domesticated dog that lives in the house. They know they have a job, and they know that we're taking care of the farm. And so they treat us in a certain way.
Yeah.
We're part of the
business
family.
Partners. The horses are who they're really attached to. It's a little ego deflating sometimes when, they like us, but they adore the horses.
Yeah. Well, they are funny when, I go out to the barn in the morning and do chores. They'll all gather around me and give me an escort out to the barn, make sure everything's under control. They like to say hello, and everything's under control, and they've done their night duty, so they're sort of checking in. But And then we've had an addition aside from the Maremmas. We've another dog.
Well, what we've been doing is we have our senior Maremmas right now, and unfortunately, there is a life expectancy for large breeds of dogs, and we wanted to make sure that we had a younger team that was learning and growing up so that we would always have livestock guardian dogs to protect the horses. And so as our older dogs, Vigil and Gardenia and Halo and Mirage and that team, as they've gotten older, we've brought in some puppies. We brought in 3 Maremma sheepdog puppies, Angelo and Atlas and Amadeus III. And we also have brought in a different breed of livestock guardian dog, 2 Bulgarian shepherds. And, they're also called, and I always mispronounce it, but it's Kara Kachan is the name for it. But they're Bulgarian shepherds, and they are an even older breed than the Maremma sheepdogs. They've got ancestors it's a 4,000-year-old ancestors.
And we heard from the people of Bulgaria. They followed us and checked in and also gave us additional information about the breed, and they were very happy and proud that these dogs are on our farm and doing a job here. It's a very proud nation and a very proud people about their breed
We
of
were
dogs.
surprised that they found that Gentle Carousel had their Bulgarian shepherds. Even the museum in Bulgaria sent all these pictures, historic pictures of their breed of dog, which was really fun and interesting. So we have added 2 of those, and this is a breed of dog too that are they're very powerful, they're very strong, they're really smart, and they're just like the Maremma sheepdogs. They're super independent. They will take your suggestion, but they definitely think for themselves of what they think is best. And so we have 2 of those. That's Zenith, who is a month older than the new Maremma sheepdog puppies. So they think he's very old and wise, that he's a month older than they are. And then our youngest one is, her name is Meadow. And she was actually named after someone who was lost at the Parkland school shooting. And we've met with the mom a number of times. And with her permission, she really felt like having the name Meadow out guarding horses because her daughter loved horses so much.
Her daughter was an equestrian. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
So Zenith and Meadow are the 2 that look a little different. And I was going to say, if you go to our website, there is a page that says Guardian Angels, and you can see pictures of all the dogs that we're talking about and them with the horses. And also with the book Mercury and Sirius, there's a link for Mercury and Sirius, and you can see pictures of them and their relationship from the time they were very young. They met when Mercury was 1 day old and Sirius was 8 weeks old. And because of this relationship that the horses and these guardian dogs have, the mom of Mercury had no problem with this puppy being around her foal. So there are pictures of them sleeping in the barn in the hay together and playing together and spending time together and just that kind of relationship. But it's because of who Sirius, as a livestock guardian dog, his instincts, but also he was a puppy at the time, the foal was young at the time, and they just seemed to have a special relationship with each other. So it's a nice book and it's a nice story, but you can see them on the website as well, and pictures of them. But like I said before, I think it's important to know that this is what works for us, and we will have people that will call and say, I want to have that, which, by the way, we don't breed Maremma sheepdogs. We get calls going, we want to buy one from you. We don't breed them. Ours are spay and neutered. They have a job, and we don't breed puppies.
And one thing, I mean, these are, like we mentioned earlier, they're large dogs. They do eat quite a bit of dog food. We want to make sure that they have dog food available to them all the time, and they have fresh water. And, they really, quite frankly, are low maintenance. They get attention every day. We love to go out and, greet them and say hello, but we want to make sure that they have food and water down. People have been very generous. We've had donors that have sent dog food from our Amazon wish list, and that has been super helpful.
Huge help.
Yeah, it's been tremendous that people appreciate what these dogs do on the farm. That it allows us to keep our mission going forward. So they help us in that way by providing dog food and also encouragement. I mean, these dogs, they are funny. They've got an important job, and people like to follow along with the guardian angels are doing. And so we feel very supported by our community in that way. And if you do want to visit our Amazon wish list, we do have some items there that help us behind the scenes to keep the farm running.
The dog food is a big deal. They burn a lot of calories during the day.
Well, and I think it's important to understand, when we arrive at an event or a location, we do something with the horses, there is just a lot that goes behind the scenes, that goes behind that visit. The preparation, the care of the horses, the care of the dogs that make the safety possible. So these are things that allow us to do what we do to keep our mission going forward.
Yeah. We'll have to talk about in an episode just the care of the horses and every time the horses go out, it's like going to a horse show. They're clipped and groomed and all of that. And the Maremma sheepdogs are low maintenance in the fact that they they're independent. But on the other hand, they need to be brushed, they need their nails trimmed, they get the same, obviously, veterinary care that any dog would get. That's really important. And in the heat of the summer, to make sure that they have an opportunity, whether it's with misters or kiddie pools or something.
We have some large troughs that they like to climb in.
They are so independent. You try to do something that you think is good for them, like, here's your kiddie pool, and they're like, no thanks, but we will hop in a trough up to our neck and walk around with, with their little heads and things. So, we got the elevated beds. When we got the original dogs, we put elevated beds for their comfort in the barn, and they were like, no thank you. We appreciate that, but we're going to sleep where we want to, and we're going to do what we want to. But when we got the younger ones, we got Zenith first, and he was a puppy by himself initially, and he loved the bed, the elevated beds. And so when the other new puppies joined, they watched him and learned. So they all like to sleep on the beds. The older dogs don't want to have anything to do with it, but the younger dogs are like, yeah, that's what we do. So we have elevated beds for them, to sleep on.
Little canine hammocks. They love them.
They do love them.
I think it keeps them cool as well.
But I think whatever we do, we're looking out for them, and they do need a lot of care and a lot of food and veterinary care and all of the same things that any large breed of dog would need. But they are amazing, and we highly recommend them for us. And if that's the right situation for someone else listening, or something for them to consider. But the one big thing is, please make sure that they have backup. When you hear these stories, and there was even one that was nearby up from us, where a Maremma sheepdog was badly, badly injured because the coyotes attacked, and they will fight to the end.
No, they don't back down, that's for sure.
No, and it was tragic that this dog was so badly injured. And we would never want to have our dogs be put in that position. We want them to always have enough security, because we love our horses, but we love the dogs too, and we would never want anything to happen to them. And in all of this time since they arrived, we have not had a single incident on the farm of any kind. No dog has been injured, no horse has been injured, and it's been the perfect situation for us.
Yeah, it's been a great solution. And they're just a lot of fun. It's really been innovative and has enriched our farm.
It really has. And with the coyotes being the way they have been this last couple of years, if we did not have dogs in place already, I'm not sure what we would have done. We do live across from a state park, and the coyotes are doing really well, and there doesn't seem to be any shortage of where they're going and how many that there are. And we definitely see them moving. We've seen them moving across the pasture next to our farm. We hear them howling at night. And these dogs are guardian angels, truly, over the horses.
Yeah, and if you have any additional questions about Maremmas, please feel free to submit your questions, your requests to learn more, and we can tell you all about them. And we do try to post pictures, try to post what they're up to all the time, whether it's on Facebook or on our website. So is there anything else we want to talk about?
No, just encouraging people to come on over and take a look at them. We've talked about them, but you can see the pictures with the link on our website for Guardian Angels, or the link for Mercury and Sirius, and check them out in person, because they are adorable and they look like little angels, and you would never know from just looking at the pictures of them how serious they could be. So I think, but yeah, if you have any questions, you can email them to us, or anything that you would like us to cover in future episodes. We're going to be talking about the training of the horses. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things and stories about where we go. And again, we want to talk about acts of kindness each week. And I think the farmer, the former prisoner of war veteran, who did such an act of kindness for us by giving us our first two Maremma sheepdogs, Vigil and Gardenia, I think that was he really did change our charity and how we do things, and we will always be very, very grateful and appreciative of what he did for us.
Yeah, I think as a result of his act of kindness, it has affected the lives of so many people. It's impacted the people that we visit, and we are allowed to do the things that we do. I think you'll notice a tone in our social media, our website, and even this podcast. We really try to be positive. There is just a lot of good things to talk about, and that's what we choose to talk about. We talk about positive impact, acts of kindness, heroism, and people that are going through challenging times can do amazing things. And so that's really the theme of what Gentle Carousel is all about. And we want to thank you for joining us today in our third episode. And we would like to hear from you what you'd like us to talk about next, what would be important. We have plenty to cover over 30 years, but we want to hear what is of interest to you. So please do reach out to us. This has been George Garcia Bengoche along with Debbie, your host and co-host, here behind the scenes at Gentle Carousel Miniature Therapy Horses. Thank you for joining us.
If you enjoyed the Gentle Carousel podcast, remember to follow the little horses on social media and join the Gentle Carousel newsletter mailing list. If you'd like to learn more about supporting the important work of Gentle Carousel Miniature Therapy Horses, or if you have a question that you'd like answered on a future episode, all contact information is on the charity website, gentlecarouseltherapyhorses.com. Join behind the scenes at Gentle Carousel Miniature Therapy Horses each week for a new episode right here on the Equus Radio Network.